This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. October 10th is World Mental Health Day, and this year we are saying thank you to therapists. BetterHelp therapists have helped over 5 million people worldwide on their mental health journeys. That's millions of stories and millions of journeys. Behind each one of them is a therapist who showed up, listened, and helped someone take that next step forward. Moments in therapy, like asking the right questions, having a safe place to get emotional or cry, or small wins, they can change lives. This World Mental Health Day, BetterHelp is honoring those connections and the therapists who make them possible while showing how easy it is to get guidance from a licensed therapist online with BetterHelp. I've been doing therapy for over 2 years and I couldn't recommend it enough. It's helped me so much with relationships with my friends, families, even myself. It's helped me understand myself better, and it's just made for such a better life. It really has. With over 30,000 therapists, BetterHelp is the world's largest online therapy platform, having served over 5 million people globally. And it works with an average rating of 4.9 out of 5 for live sessions based on over 1.7 million client reviews. This World Mental Health Day, we are collaborating with those therapists who have helped millions of people take a step forward. If you're ready to find the right therapist for you, BetterHelp can help you start that journey. Our listeners get 10% off of their first month at BetterHelp.com/PFF. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/PFF. All right, Rhodes, here we go. Raiders at the Colts, Indianapolis. They don't almost lose this game. The Raiders, in fact, do not score 28 points like I thought could be the case in a little bit of a shootout here. 40-6. Colts absolutely dominated this game. Their top 5 graded players that we had in this game, edge rusher Samson Ebukam with an 86.8, wide receiver Josh Downs an 85.0, offensive guard Quentin Nelson with an 84.9, cornerback Charvarius Ward an 83.1, safety Nick Cross with a 78.7, and then Daniel Jones with a 73.7. On Vegas' side of things, their offensive guard Dylan Parham with a 91.7, offensive guard Jackson Powers Johnson an 82.4, tight end Ian Thomas with a 74.6, wide receiver Jack Besh finally getting into the mix here with a 74.0, and then tight end Albert Okwuegbunam, 72.2. Called off the practice squad this week.
Him and Ian Thomas. I mean, you talk about having you don't have Brock Bowers. These are the guys.
And they didn't
that
have Michael Mayer. Yeah. Both of their starting tight ends went down, and Chip Kelly went, nope. The game plan is the game plan. We're sticking to it. Geno Smith in this one, a 56.0. I think his passing grade was a lot worse than that even. So your stats told the story here, Dalton.
I think just in general, watching this Colts offense and watching the way they've operated now through 5 games, they put a pressure on you as a team, as an opponent, that's normally reserved right now for, when you're playing the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes or the Bills and Josh Allen, where you can't make a whole lot of mistakes because they're not going to give you anything at all. You look at just the clean style of football that they play, and this is the idea that Shane Steichen wants in his offense. It's just, I just want to play a clean football game. I want mistake-free football. We're not going to do anything crazy. Honestly, this might be the least flashy 40 points I've ever seen scored.
Truly.
It was almost the most boring 40 points I've ever seen, and yet you look at the results for this Colts team, right? Only 2 plays that lost yardage the entire day. No sacks, no turnovers, only 2 accepted offensive penalties, and one of them was on a 2-point conversion because Spencer Schrader, the kicker, got hurt, so they had to go for 2, like 2/3 of this game,
right.
And 6 for 6 in the red zone. I mean, offensively especially, they just play such a clean brand of football. And if either your offense isn't up to the challenge or you're not forcing them into mistakes or turnovers on basically the 2 things the Rams did to still only beat them by 7, you're going to have a long day because this team they just choke you out through the course of a game, and you watch this offense right now, and if it continues like this, they're going to go to the playoffs. They just don't screw anything up. And I watched their offense in this game, and I watched it the whole way through. And I know that, look, the Raiders have a talent deficiency on defense. We know this. But you can't have that against this Colts team because, again, that's the best way I can put it. They just don't screw anything up.
Nope.
And even if it's not the most exciting football you've ever watched, again, 2 negative plays the entire game. Mm-hmm. And they scored 40 points. Yeah. They almost put me to sleep scoring 40 points. Really, I mean, it's the craziest part. It's the exact Daniel Jones brand of football I was asking for this offense.
Yeah,
because that's what it could turn into.
This is the perfect version of whatever the Indianapolis Colts were going to be this year. Like, it is all worked out for them. And to your point, this is a team that just what's almost even more impressive than them not beating themselves is the fact that they're doing that with such a diversity of offensive weapons. They had 3 players in this game average more than 3 yards per carry. They had 5 different players in this game with more than 20 yards receiving. Like, it's one thing to say, like, oh, okay, like, we're efficient when we go to our stars. The Colts are efficient when they go to everybody, which is certainly a Daniel Jones thing. It's definitely a Shane Steichen thing, but it's just, we talked about this on last week's show. They are saying to Daniel Jones, hey, put the ball right here at this time. And he goes, okay, and he does it. And it's just, he doesn't have I think there are a lot of quarterbacks that might be able to do that, but then they're physically limited, right? We go like, oh, okay, like this quarterback is an assassin from 25 yards in. But anything past 25 yards, like, it's not great. Daniel Jones, or like for running, for example, it's like okay, like this guy knows how to, escape pressure, but then he doesn't have the talent to like pick up the yards afterwards. Daniel Jones has the talent to do all of these things. He's now just uber efficient with it, and he's efficient with it no matter who he's going to. So I think a lot of people in the chat are like, hey, are the Colts actually like legit here? Until further notice, they're absolutely legit because nobody can really slow them down, including themselves. How many of these teams, Buffalo Bills, Los Angeles Chargers, Baltimore Ravens, good teams, shooting themselves in the foot consistently throughout this season? Well, I don't want to say consistently because that doesn't always been the case, but we've got a handful of games now where like those teams shooting themselves in the foot. They're getting in their own way. The Colts, we're 5 weeks into the season. Not only are they playing well, not only can nobody stop them, they can't even stop themselves. And it's often, that's the first, opponent, to quote Rocky there. Whoever you're looking at in the mirror, it's the toughest opponent that you're going to face. Sometimes that's the toughest opponent that you're going to face. And the Colts are up to that challenge every single time. So it's very, very impressive there. Geno Smith was not good in this game. His passing grade wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. It's a 53.5, but that's because he had the big-time throw in this one. He had the 2 turnover-worthy plays. The one that was the tipped pass interception doesn't count as a turnover-worthy play just because it's a good defensive play, and he obviously he's throwing it, but who knows what happens after he throws that football. It could have been a touchdown, I believe, on that play because that's where they were next to the goal line. So we don't count that as a turnover-worthy play. It's just a really good play by the defensive player to get their hand up there and bat the ball, and it obviously goes for an interception on that one. But Geno wasn't good in this game. And you know what I think the biggest problem was for the Raiders in this game? It felt like Geno told himself he had to do it all himself. That's what I think the biggest problem was in this game. Because for the last couple of weeks, we have focused on how they haven't really been able to get the run game going. They haven't been able to get Ashton Genty going. They haven't had that explosiveness or even just straight up consistency with the ground game. And I think that it finally got to Geno Smith this week where he said, okay, I'm going to do it myself then. Like I'm gonna create the big time throws independent of whatever happens with the run game. And the crappy part about it is the run game was better this week.
No, Genty, I mean, it was great. He was great. He was best player on the field against the Bears. No, they've gotten that part going. To me, more so than even carrying this team through the opponents, it's his own defense. Because now you look at this team their last 3 weeks, and look, we knew coming into the year they didn't have much on defense. But they've given up now 106 points in their last 3 games.
That's fair too. But to me, that totally goes into what I felt like I was watching, where Geno was just like, I've got to do it all myself. So I thought it was more of the running game part of it, and I do think that probably was still a factor. But you are totally right to bring up the defense, where he might believe, like it's the Caleb Williams USC factor, right? Caleb Williams at USC, he had a handful of turnover-worthy plays like throughout his last year when he was there, but Caleb Williams was like, I'm the best player in the country, and we're about to go 500 if I don't score 55 every week. And I wonder if Geno Smith now feels that way, because it sure looked like that's how he played yesterday, is if I don't score, Rhodes, 28, we're not going to win.
At least. I mean,
right,
this is the problem with this defense, and this was the problem, that we were worried about preseason with this back seven is it looks maybe marginally slightly better than last year, but not a whole lot. I mean, you look at the secondary with so many young guys and just kind of cast-offs playing there. You look at the linebacker level with Devin White really struggling in this game, and he's green dot in your defense right now. I mean, there's just not many options on this defense. Like we've talked about, I believe their highest graded player still Jamal Adams. I mean, that's where we're at, is that their highest graded.
It's got to be Max Crosby now, right? After the last 2 weeks?
It could be Crosby now. Let me look at it. I know that's probably 1-2 right there.
Jamal Adams is probably close.
It is Max Crosby and then Jamal Adams,
Yeah.
and then nobody else is within 7 points. They just don't have enough depth on this defense.
No.
And I mean, and we knew that going into the season. This should not be a shock
Them
at all.
not having Christian Wilkins is huge.
Yeah.
I mean, you make that signing to build around him and make the defensive line a lot better. And what happened with him and how, him not being on the team anymore is...
There's that. There's the secondary that was already struggling from last year. There's the hodgepodge of veterans at linebacker that have been, apparently Jamal Adams is the best one. There's, Malcolm Kuntz has had one good game out of 5. I mean, it's just they just don't have a ton. To Pete Carroll and Patrick Graham, they don't have a ton to work with. And then when was the moment when this game really started to turn? It was okay for a quarter plus for the Raiders once they got the punt blocked. And then the Colts got an easy.
Yeah, you can't have that.
Then the Colts got an easy touchdown, and then the Raiders were driving back in the tip ball and the interception, and then the Colts get another touchdown because the Raiders can't get a stop no matter where you are on the field. This is how the pressure mounts on an offense to have to. I think the Caleb Williams example at USC is perfect. That team went 7-5 that year,
right.
And there were games they were losing 49-42 or whatever it was, and you just, as a quarterback, you tell yourself all the time you're not gonna press. But there's certain times you're pressing because you want to win ball games, and this was one for Geno. And again, I just think the Raiders fundamentally, as defensively more so to me than offensively, and they haven't been great offensively, but just a fundamentally flawed team. They don't have enough talent on defense.
Yeah, I would agree. My most impressive in this game, I'm going to shout out Ashton Doolin. 5 targets, 2 catches, 55 receiving yards. But he also had 2 kick returns in this game, 43 total receiving yards, a 99-yard touchdown that got called back due to a hold, and then he had a tackle on special teams as well. Ashton Doolin was all over the place, and there's a handful of players that I think that we could have gone with on Indianapolis' side of things. But how often do I get to shout out Ashton Doolin in a game that he certainly deserved to get a shout-out? I wanted to make sure he got the nod for most impressive because his day was fantastic. And he's part of that diversity of just what this team has. And now everybody that goes out there and plays just feels really confident in what their role is, the game plan, and how to execute it.
And the one thing, if you're going to run an offense like this, you need 2 things. I'll go with yours first because Daniel Jones, the one thing he doesn't quite have in him is the super rocket arm that Josh Allen has to throw the deep ball all over the place. If you're going to play within that 20 to 25-yard box, it's got to be a meritocracy. And Doolin is probably the 6th or 7th guy you think of on this offense, and yet he can step in. He's been in this system a while, and he can come in and play. The other thing you have is an elite offensive line that played just outstanding football. Again, these are, every time we talk about Daniel Jones and Tyler Warren and Jonathan Taylor, we need to not forget about these front 5 either. The starting offensive line for the Colts in this game, a 79.5 grade as a unit, only allowed 4 pressures all day. Great in the run and pass game. Quentin Nelson and those guys up front are still dominating. It's just an unbelievable unit they have, and really, I think that's the one thing we have to remember too. That's the heart and soul of this team. Is Quentin Nelson and Bernard Ryman and those guys on that offensive line. They allow everything else to happen here.
It's what this team was built around, and I think through the Colts' ups and downs over the last couple of years, you forget about that a little bit. And the second they have somebody that can really take advantage of how healthy that team has been built through the trenches, I mean, you are seeing the rewards of I think that team building there from Chris Ballard. And I want to say, like, it hasn't always been pretty, but Ballard, it feels like, has always really tried to emphasize the backbone of what makes a really good team. And now that they have a quarterback that can execute what they're asking them to do, we are seeing that.